I was gonna brush my hair before recording this video because I just woke up, but fuck it, we're doing it live. So, as you all know, I'm getting a divorce, and I've been reflecting on my past relationship, trying to figure out exactly what went wrong, uh, and trying to avoid some of the critical errors that were made from the beginning going into my current relationship and insofar as how I analyze people going forward. And I think from the beginning, the situation was fucked. And the situation was fucked from the beginning because I am a very direct communicator. It is a part of my personality. It's something that I insist on. And this was something that my ex was not comfortable with. So I'll give you an example. On the first trip that we ever went on together as a couple, as we were getting to know each other, I continually noticed things about her fractured and often unstable mental state that I wanted to help with. I wasn't psychoanalyzing her, but I was asking questions about how she felt. And this was a thing that continuously made her uncomfortable. I wasn't trying to be judgmental. I wasn't trying to, feed her my own ideas about what was or what might have been going on. I was merely asking about it. And this resulted in her looking even more uncomfortable and believing that there was something malicious or suspicious about the nature of my questions, when in reality, I was just trying to help her with what she was going through. I was trying to be a supportive partner, as any partner would be. However, she had not had an experience like that before, and so she would react angrily and, in some cases, violently to the things I would say, even going so far as to bring up specific traumas that I had and claim that I deserved for those things to happen to me growing up. In whatever way she could, she would attempt to weaponize my problems, long-standing issues against me as a way of deflecting from these basic questions I was asking about how she was doing in an attempt to help her. So she was very, I don't know what you would call it, axiomatically against me attempting to be there for her in this manner. She had never encountered somebody in an intimate context who would attempt to do that and genuinely wanted to do that for no, what would you call this, with no ulterior motive, right? This is very hard for her. And on that first trip, there were multiple instances when I would see that she was dissociating, when I would see that she was feeling bad, when I would see that it was likely that something I said was misinterpreted or possibly hurt her in some way, and I would ask, how are you feeling? Are you all right? Is everything okay? And then I'd look more and she'd be like, yeah, I'm fine, very obviously with a change in mood. Because the thing about my ex is it's very obvious when she feels stuff, right? It's clear. And I understand that, Canadians are a little less likely to help you in this direct, kind of honest way. Most of their, I don't know what you would call it, niceness is kind of a shallow sort of thing, it's very surface level. Americans are very direct. And we genuinely care about how you're feeling and making you feel welcome. Of course, this is a generalization. There's differences in regions and individuals, but as a general thing, especially coming from the southern part of the country, which is where I'm from, we, in a very direct way, want to make you feel welcome. That was the mindset that I was raised with. And that's how I feel deep in my heart. So I was being myself in these situations and going, hey, if you need to talk about anything, I'm here for you. If you don't want to, that's okay too. Just please don't try and deny what's right in front of my eyes, because I can tell something is going on with you. And I feel vindicated in having said those things because later on, or at least after a while, she would acknowledge that genuinely something was going on. But the fact that she kept denying it was something I was willing to be patient about, but bothered me right then and there because it felt like I was being gaslit. I did not like the fact that she was lying to me, misleading me. It left a sour taste in my mouth, especially as someone who's come from parental relationships that were wrought with lies, intimate relationships, friendships that were wrought with lies. These are things which have traumatized me. And I had to remind myself, okay, be patient. You shouldn't have your behavior, be defined by these past experiences. You shouldn't let them go on to influence you as how you're behaving in the now. So I try to keep it together and look past the fact that momentarily I was being misled. However, after it kept happening so many times, it would start to really wear on me. And I couldn't help but bring up the fact that I was being lied to and that it offended me. And so these were some of the first points of contention for us. She didn't like the fact that I wanted to help her, or the fact that I felt the need to look after her. And so, you could say that this isn't so much of a, what would you call it, moral issue. Like, you could say neither of us were in the wrong per se, but it's undeniable that this was an incompatibility from the get-go, right? And it was one that I found very hurtful as someone who wanted to be with her and cared about her. Given my emotional needs and communication style, it hurt. So I'd find myself here trying to reach out to her, seeing what I could with my own eyes, what was apparent, and she would deny, and refuse to let me in, which again I found very hurtful. But it became all the more hurtful when she would attempt to weaponize experiences of mine or immutable characteristics of mine as insults and place them as a target on my back. That's a way to shut down a conversation, but it's not fair to the other person who's trying to talk to you. You could just as easily say, I really don't want to talk about this. This is a boundary for me. Please stop. If she said that, boom, it's like, we're done here. I'm not going to press the issue because this is a problem for you. That's all you have to do. Like, I was capable of saying stuff like that from minute one. I was capable of saying stuff like that in other relationships. But for whatever reason, she just terminally could not figure out this basic thing, that you put up these barriers when you feel uncomfortable with a certain line of questioning or I don't know what you'd call it, topic, when a certain topic is brought up. But she couldn't do that, right? The communication was off. It was messed up. And it led to me feeling very unloved from the very beginning. There was this moment on our second trip where I was asking her, really, like, if there's something about what I'm saying or what I'm doing that's bothering you, you can just tell me and I can adapt. I do this for everybody I talk to. I do this for everyone I'm around. It's basic courtesy. You're taught this when you're a kid. She wasn't taught that when she was a kid because her parents are abusive assholes. Literally. Like, I'm not gonna wring out her dirty laundry here. I'll just say what's been known publicly, which is that her parents are abusive in general. Not going into specifics, but it's pretty bad. So, she, especially being the oldest child, was not, raised in a way where she got with it, where she figured it all out. And, this caused some problems for her. Temperament, also very different from mine, and that had an impact. But this created a problem where she thought what I was doing was just totally alien and foreign, and I guess in some sense it was literally foreign, but also it was the right thing to do, right? Not all cultures are created equally, in my opinion. But so I think it created this problem here where we were, coming up against one another, and she didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to deal with it. And as I was being myself, attempting to be myself, not trying to compromise on who I am and what I believe and what I do and how I feel, there came an issue. I wanted her to compromise with me, to communicate a little bit more. And then in situations where she couldn't, I was willing to look past that and just continue to be patient. She didn't want to take that compromise. And she refused to communicate with me about, this barrier. Hey, let's not talk about that. She wasn't going to go there. She was just going to insult me. And so I was going to insist, right? I was going to stand on business. I was going to stand my ground. And I remember that one conversation there on our second trip, it came to a head where I yelled out. Because by that point, for months and months, I had been being patient and kind about this issue, but it kept coming up again and again and again as a sore point between us. And I just yelled out, for fuck's sake, let me be nice to you. Why the fuck, I don't remember the exact words, but it was like, why the fuck don't you just let me be nice to you? It is a moment of sheer frustration. And she didn't know what to say, really. But throughout that trip, we were having problems constantly. And if I had to say, the moment when the baby was smothered in the crib, proverbially speaking, or when it had gotten soured, the romance, the love, it had to have been on that first trip, but it all came to a head on that second one. Because these were issues which were lingering, bothering me all the time, for months at that point. It's a very basic communication issue about a thing which is like not something I can compromise on. It's something that is so important to me that like I can't do otherwise. And it's part of why I like my current girlfriend so much, is she'll just let me be nice to her. It's not weird for her. It's not bad to her. She appreciates it, actually. And she appreciates it so much. And so it's like, for the first time, me being myself is actually considered a good thing, not this weird aberration that should be treated as something which makes me undesirable. When you're painted in that manner, it's going to make you feel unloved, and in a very fundamental way. And thankfully, I don't have to deal with that anymore. Also, my ramen noodles are look at this. They're like clumping up together because they've been sitting for so long in this cold air. I just got them out of the microwave, but then I started recording a video. I really should eat these, but also I don't want to have to edit this, so I'm going to record the next segment right now. Let's hope I can get this fast. So, the other big thing that I brought up in my initial divorce video is the fact that I don't think I used the word dumb, but I kind of heavily implied that she is dumb. And I want to clarify that because it's not like we couldn't have intellectual conversations. It was possible. She was capable of doing that. But a lot of them ended up devolving into the same things because she was fundamentally unable to stay on topic a lot of the time. There were times when she could, but a lot of the time she could not. And so the conversations would devolve into this anti-intellectualism and this epistemic anti-realism that was very present in her mode of thinking. She was very anti-empiricist, and I think there were times when she had begun learning how to speak about topics from more of an empirical perspective and could, she sought to match me in certain conversations, which in retrospect is something I appreciate a lot. It's not like she wasn't making an effort at certain times, but most of the time, she would just devolve into this epistemic anti-realism and insist that language wasn't real, that nothing is real, that to even have a conversation is this kind of terrible thing because it's, flies in the face of the truth, that there is no truth, and all this, kind of postmodernist word salad that she would fling at me. And, I would try to insist, well, no, the fact that you're even having a conversation and utilizing language in this manner disproves the very point that you're making. And every conversation would just evolve into that. I mean, she was also very anti-intellectual and uncritical when it came to media. Like, we'd be watching something or playing a video game, and this same conversation arose so many times when I was talking about details in the story and what they meant and what I thought the artist was going for. And she would, respond to my in-depth analysis by going, I just think it was part of the story. I just think it happened because it was in the story. And it's not like there aren't some genuine moments when a person is overthinking it and it isn't that deep, but a lot of the time, there are some deeper things that you can glean from this media, especially if you believe in death of the author, right? I know that whole line of thinking gets misused a lot of the time or misappropriated, but you see what I'm going for here. And so it was very frustrating for me because, like, the thing that I really enjoy about media is thinking about it, the kind of thoughts it inspires. And when talking to somebody who is so uncritical about the media that they consume and having to live with them and spend all your time with them, it gets exhausting. And that's what I was experiencing, this exhaust and frustration with being around that. And, it was another point which led to me feeling out of place in the relationship and even unloved to an extent because it felt like we were just talking past each other, like our communication styles or worldviews were fundamentally incompatible. And it's difficult to live with somebody and exist with them in an intimate capacity when that's the case. And again, it's not to say that she wasn't at times capable of having an intellectual conversation or even in some cases, very rare cases, matching me. But I have to stress that very rare part. It didn't happen very often. And so continually, this was a point of contention between us. And I mean, I'm glad to be talking to somebody who is a lot smarter and has a lot of the same interests as me, looks at things in a similar way. It feels nice. So, I mean, these are just a couple of the problems. If I had to analyze it all, we'd be here all day. But communication, that's the main thing, really. Looking at the world in completely different, diametrically opposed ways. It's a miracle we lasted as long as we did when we had such different morals, such different worldviews, such different communication styles and backgrounds and experiences. It's crazy that it lasted as long as it did. But that's that.